Hi everyone, welcome to part 1 of my Gilded Monogram wreath that I made for my aunt's 75th birthday. I'm going to take you through my full process here, and I'm not showing you the final artwork here, just a few hints of it, but I'll show you the whole process from start to finish. This is my Scotty puppy Sherlock. He's just overseeing the process. He's a 6-month-old Scotty puppy, and I've got all my art materials around me here. And what I'm doing is this first part I'm just practicing with my stamps and watercolor and inks. I've got distress inks, watercolor, and I'm stamping out things and just seeing, you know, what kind of foliage I can do. Of course I could just paint them from scratch, but I want a lot of elements really quickly so I can get on to gilding the wreath. So this is what I'm doing here. As you can see, I've got these stamps here. I think they're by Inkadinkadoo, and I'm just stamping the foliage, leaves and berries and stuff like that. Here are my paint brushes, and I'm using my Magello Mission watercolors for this process. So this beginning first video is just, you know, I'm practicing things. I've never done a wreath like this before, cutting it out on my scan and cut, so I'm just practicing to see what kind of elements I can get. So there I stamped a branch, and I'm just painting over it to make it just look like it was watercolored by hand, which it kind of is. It's a hybrid. It's like stamping it gives me the quick outline, and then I can go in like this flower. I stamped it first, and then I can go in and just give it a watercolor look and give it my own touch. So that's what I'm doing. And through this first part of this video, the video is going to be a few parts because it was such a long process. But this first video is just, I'm playing around, I'm being creative. Here I'm creating a, I'm using Brusho, and I'm creating a little silver dollar because I'm going to stick some cute little elements like that in the wreath as well, like maybe a little lucky key or a silver dollar here and there, that kind of thing. So I'm just playing around with elements on my watercolor paper, and then I'm going to test to see what my scan and cut machine will cut out of these elements. And then once I have all the elements cut out, I can gather them into a design and design my wreath. And I've already designed the letter B, and then the last process is cut them all out. Well, design the wreath and then paint the bee and then gild it. So I hope you enjoy this first video and watching me play. I'm just bringing you through the whole process here so you can see it start to finish, and I hope you enjoy it. Here I'm just playing around with my Brusho powder colors, inks, and I also use my Fine Tech sparkly golds, and just to put a little bit of bling in the whole thing. Hi guys, okay, I'm doing some more experimenting here. I have my little ceramic palettes, some water, some TP or paper towel, whatever. Got my Fine Tech colors here and my Schminke watercolors. There's my little puppy Sherlock. He's a Scotty, and he's just nosing this stuff around. He's 6 months old. And I'm using these interesting things here from Martha Stewart Crafts. I might try some of these elements. But what's cool about these are if you can see, they're like sticky little backing stencils. So, and there's lots of elements here. I'm gonna try for my Monogram Wreath, and then I'm gonna eventually cut them out on my Scan and Cut. Sorry, I can't talk. So I have some things done here. I've got them stuck down. You see they're sticky. I love them so far. And I'm just filling that in, and see how the branch came out really nicely. But I don't want it that stencil look, so I'm gonna go in after and paint, you know, fill in the lines and paint it myself and just make it my own branch. But it's just a starter, you know, and I think these will help me easily plan the wreath. I can put them out around and it'll just be easier than freestyling it. I don't know, we'll see. I'm just playing around. So that's what they look like now. That one is dried, and eventually soon I'm going to be able to take these off. And I have to connect the parts to cut them out on the Scan and Cut anyway, for it to see one object. Or if that doesn't work, I'm just going to use these and paint directly on my monogrammed painting. The other little thing I have here to show you is I got this sort of, I don't know if it's one of a kind, but they said it was rare, but see, it's a little Japanese fugu puffer fish. And look at this, it's a little palette in there. I just love it. It's for ink or watercolor. But I'm not using the pinks right now, so I'm just on my greens, keeping that covered so the cats don't get sick. And then of course I have my brush pig here holding all my brushes, and then my puppy Sherlock. Hi, buddy. He's saying hello. Okay, so here obviously my Scan and Cut is cutting out my watercolor elements for the wreath, and I'm so happy with the way this works. It's cutting it out perfectly. I'm just blown away by this machine. I love it. Okay, I just wanted to show you here. This is really interesting. So my watercolor elements here, the Scan and Cut it out of 140-pound watercolor paper, and it just comes out that easily. So that is pretty cool. This is 140 Canson, or Canson is the proper French pronunciation, but the blade setting for this, for 140-pound Canson watercolor paper, is 7.5, and it comes out perfectly, and it doesn't touch doesn't cut into the mat or anything. And my paper's a little bit warped. I went to cut the flowers, but the paper was too warped. So look at how it pops out. That is amazing. I'm kind of blown away. So I can arrange my elements like that. Now these little ones here, I can't really do this with one hand. There, I did it. This was too difficult for it, as I expected. This was too thin. So look at that. It's amazing. It cut out that thin branch. I'm quite blown away. So that's a no. It's too thin, but see the difference? That's way too thin right there, but that is okay. Amazing. Okay, here's all my little cutouts here. I have these to go. I'm gonna cut out the dark leaves, and I've chosen them there. I'm gonna hit go. But they're all coming out like this super easily. Amazing. I just cut out the rest. The ones that didn't cut are these really fine. I knew it wouldn't. I mean, I didn't expect it to. I'm not going to cut that one, or maybe I should. No, I won't cut it. These ones are more for practice to make sure I could get the look I want, but I'm so blown away. Except for the little white part in the middle, but I can take my own blade and get that out very easily. My paper was too warped to go in the scan and cut, so I just sprayed the back with water and put some heavy things on top of it. But, oh, that looks pretty flat. So here's some flowers I was just fooling around with. I want to see if I could cut them out, so maybe I'll go do that now. Put these on the mat and see if it works. So I'm going to go in here and go scan. Actually, I'm going to load this in. Okay. The mat cannot be recognized. The mat will unload. Why? It was a little glitch. All right, I'm going.
You have to cut device, that color and okay. Go, open it.
Okay, so here's where I design my bee. Okay, so I've exported this video from an app called Procreate on my iPad Pro, and I have an Apple Pencil. And what I did was I designed the bee in here, and here I am just fiddling with shapes and changing. I wanted it to look ribbony like that, but also have a little sort of old gothic, old style, very traditional feel to it. So here I'm just playing with shapes and stuff, and then finally when I get the shape I want, I color it black, and then now, as you can see here, I'm just tracing like a pencil line around the outside, and that will give me my final bee that I can draw out and finally paint and finally gild. Okay, I just printed out my bee on printer paper and then went over it with a black marker, and then I put this piece of paper on top of my watercolor paper where I wanted it, and I had the machine scan it in, and then I just saved that outline to the machine. So now I'm going to get it to print with my gray Tombow marker, and we'll see what it does.
Pattern, save data, machine, there's the bee. I'm scanning my paper even though I already know. Now it's in the middle, I'm gonna go, okay, draw. Draw speed 2. I think that's fine.
So I'm using the machine to print out the bee in this marker because I've never tried this before, and I thought it would be a really cool idea because the waterproof marker would melt into the watercolor. And I also printed out these here, these bees and the word sweet and some leaves, just so I could test how this works. That's why I'm printing all these things and painting all these elements. So here's what the bee looks like with the Tombow marker, the light gray. It missed a little spot, and I'm not sure I like how it looks. But as I continue experimenting, I find that I really like the pencil. So next I tried a 2H pencil. I thought if the marker worked, I wrapped lots of washi tape around my pencil, and I got the machine to print the bee in pencil. I was thrilled. So as you can see here, here's the results of the 2H pencil, which is awesome, and I like it better than the marker. And the benefit is I can erase the pencil as I needed, and I'll have all the benefits of having drawn out the pencil myself. Okay, so you might be thinking, why are you drawing so many bees? Well, keep in mind, I'm experimenting here. This is an idea I had to use the pencil in the scan and cut, and I've not done it before. So here's the third pencil where I used a lighter, harder pencil, and it's almost perfect. It looks like I drew it myself. I couldn't be more happy with this. And as I said, the benefit is I can erase it and make it as light as I want. I can make it almost non-existent to appear as if it's not there if I want to. So I don't need the marker. I'm happy with drawing this my letters out with pencils in the scan and cut. How brilliant. Okay, I finished cutting out the rest of these. These were a little wonky, so I had to do them individually. And like things like this one was hard. It didn't like all the little middle pieces, but I managed to get a big margin around the edge, so that worked. This one was fine. But these ones have the little edge around them, so I kind of wanted to be consistent, my painting. And then that one, I knew I could just snip off the bottom, so I let that one go. Okay, so I've sped up the video for sake of making the video shorter. Obviously these really complicated elements have the little border around the edge, and some of this delicate one just kind of came off in pieces, but it's fine. I can still use the elements. But I was very impressed with how delicately this one came out. So I needed to decide which look I wanted, because I didn't really want to mix the looks of, you know, having that border with the white in the middle or just having it very close cut. In the end, I ended up being able to mix them somewhat, and it looked really good. Okay guys, here's my little basket of all my little watercolor wreath elements. Just as a catch-all to put them in until I'm ready. Okay, so here are my elements. Remember the Martha Stewart stencils? So I painted those, and I also connected all the middle parts, and I put a little bling on with my Fine Tech paints, watercolor paints, and this is on really thin, cheap watercolor paper because I was just practicing, so I wanted to see how it went, and it's really warpy, so I'm going to show you in this way how to flatten it out. So I use my laptop right here, which is heavy, and I spritz the back of the watercolor paper, and then as you can see I put it under those heavy pads, and then with the laptop on top of it, and see how flat and thin it is. There's the one that I was doing flattening in the meantime, so you can see the example, and it's really nice and flat. So I'm gonna do it with this one here as well, and it works a charm. Okay, here's my sheet to that I wanted to have scanned in of my flowers that I painted, and my little sand dollar there, and here's, I'm gonna do them in sections just because I don't know how it's gonna treat like that middle one there, the insides of it. So just thought I'd show you what I'm doing in case people want to know. Okay, so what I'm doing here is doing it in sections, and I'm zooming in, and I'm basically, all I'm doing here is getting rid of those small little, see those little things on the left in that big flower. I'm just cycling through and deleting all those little tiny parts, and then I'll slow the video down again so you can see what I'm doing, but see, I'm just deleting all those little tiny little areas to cut over there. I'll go okay, and then I'll go cut, and again, this is 140 pound watercolor paper, so I'm on 7.5, and I know that that works. It's Canson 140 pound, so I'm gonna go okay. So I found these sets of flowers because they were so simple and stylized. They were pretty much almost circles or very simple shapes. Obviously, they cut out very easily by the machine, and it went very quickly. Okay. And it did perfectly. So I'll see if I can pop one of these out. There we go. There's my... Yeah, that looks really pretty, huh? So again, I was using here Canson 140 pound watercolor paper, which it's amazing that it will cut. And I'm just putting everything in my little basket here to hold all my elements. Okay guys, I just wanted to show you the next scan. I'm dealing with this group. And this is what happened. So I don't like what it's doing there. So I'm just going to leave that to last and deal with it on its own. And this one I could either just leave it and deal with it on its own and get rid of that little part in there by putting a little bit of purple over that edge so that it doesn't see the white. But I think I'm going to let it cut just because I don't care. If I want to, I can tuck that behind a leaf or another flower. So I'm just going to, you know, these were just practice flowers. I'm not really attached to them. Actually, I do like that one. Okay, I'm just going to leave these two to the end. So, and then I'll just get rid of this stuff here. And these ones are going to cut fine. So, this, I don't really like that cut in there, but it's okay. Again, I can cover it with a leaf or another flower. So I'm just going to say, okay. No, I'm not going to do an outside line if I can help it. But now I need to get rid of that one. So I'm going to do it on its own. And this one. So I'm going to do it on its own at the end. And these parts. So now I'm going to cycle through and get those guys. Again, here I'm just doing the same thing I did last time. I'm selecting all those little small areas in the flower and just simply trashing them. And I'm leaving those two flowers out, like I said, and I'll just do them at the end. So they've cut out great, and that's what they look like sort of on top of each other. So I really do like the look of the not white, you know, not with the bleed or the border on them. Like, look at how pretty they look on each other like that. So I really like that. It's going to be easy to arrange a wreath or a little flower pattern out of them like that. Okay guys, so I'm having trouble with these open parts because they were open, but watch how I'm going to solve this. This is just my gray marker. It's just gray Tombow marker, and it's watercolor, so I'm just going to connect those dots right there. You can't even, it's gray, but it picks up the color, and it's just, see that? I'm just closing the border there. See? And then this one, I'm just going to just color that in a bit. There we go. And it should see that as a color now. I think I had a piece of tape here too, and I think I lost it. I think it's in there in the machine, so that sucks because before my mat, it kept giving me an error saying cannot load map, like unable to load map, and I looked up the problems, and I ended up having to turn this over, and then you can remove a piece in the bottom, and the piece of tape was stuck to the scanner in the bottom. So you can clean the scanner from the bottom, by the way. It's just a little tip. Okay, so here we have this scanned again. So and now I've got those two, and okay, and cut, and And here's, this one was cut from before, it looks great. And then here's our little problem child. And look, it looks totally fine. I can even go over with my paints and get rid of all the white spots if I want. But it's good to have in your watercolor some white spots, because then it looks authentic. Let's put that into my flowers. And then this big round stylized one looks great too.